So this hangar here is the maintenance hangar. So this is where we'll do the major overhauls and the day-to-day maintenance as well on the aircraft, and we'll service all the fleets in here. So you see, this one is a Grobe. So this will be the phase 1 and phase 2 primary flight training takes place on this. On the far side, looks like they're working on landing gear or something because they're wobbling her pretty good. That's a King Air. And so that's the multi-engine training, phase 3 multi-engine, and the students will get their wings. They'll graduate wings standard on that aircraft. The other one that we have that they'll graduate wing standard is the 4-bladed. That's the 412. And beside that are the Bell 206s, and that's for the introductory helicopter training. Phase 2 and phase 3 helo training on those.
Planes and helicopters.
Planes and helicopters, yeah, 38 aircraft in total. Let me see if I can get the numbers correct. 7 of the King Airs, 12 of the Grobes, 10 of the 206s, and 9 of the 412s. These 5 helicopters here are actually going through what's called an RNAV. It's a navigation system for instrument flying. They're going through an upgrade at the moment. First discussed and basically staff checked last November into December, January. That'll go from concept to approval to implementation and full use in terms of folding them into the training program in less than a year. So for a procurement process and a government project, that is lightning fast. So those are the 5 that we're doing here. We've got a company called Maxcraft that is coming in to help Canadian Helicopters in upgrading those. We're really excited about this project. It's going to, I wouldn't say doubles the capability, but like it significantly enhances the capabilities of these helicopters to allow them to continue the training program up until the end of this contract. What they've done is the whole instrument panel has been modified to include, and it kind of means nothing, but a Garmin 650. Will be the new navigation kit, which allows them access to nav aids or instrument flight procedures and approach procedures that they haven't up until this point been able to perform. So it's a leap in capability for them. So as you can see, like the seats are out, and so I don't know if you can get around onto here, but this is the new piece of kit. So you've got a glass cockpit going into, quite an old helicopter, where it was all the dials before. You'll have all of that information displayed on here. So for something so small and relatively basic, that is it's a massive upgrade in capability. So excited to see that finally flying and getting moving. Just thrilled how. Oh, here we go. So you get to see how the new age of glass cockpit. The old 206. So to modify one of these, how many hours of work to take it from the old cockpit to the new?
So we've had, I think the quickest one we did was here for Quebec, and 2 of my guys were able to finish those in, I'd say, about a week.
About a week,
so
okay.
That's about 120 hours
of work
for the actual physical work, and then probably another 10 to 15 for testing, and then we'll need another probably 5 or so for finalizing everything.
Yeah, so a lot of work.
More than that, that's kind of really rough estimations. I don't remember what we budgeted for each one hour-wise, but we had a team of 7, so
okay.
6 avionics technicians and 1 structures tech.
Okay.
So the structures guy basically took the old panel out, installed a new one on this hinge, modified this whole radio stack, and then we've got a couple remote units. So we've got a magnetometer in the back. We have a couple units under the seats here, so you put in inserts and all that kind of stuff. and then obviously all the wiring, pre-made wiring harnesses. So basically, we removed everything, you drop in your new harness, and we just start routing it. So
Right on.
it was pretty efficient that way. So two of the aircraft got 2 technicians just to get them done faster.
Yeah.
The rest got 1 technician.
Right on. So avionics technicians and structural technicians?
Yeah, so
Okay.
there's only one structural guy in there. So he basically went machine to machine and just kind of did all the work he needed to do, and then avionics techs would work around.
So, and I'll interrupt you. I'm going to go back to this thing here so I think what's really significant in all this is not just the work that's being done here, but the trades that are involved in this. And for AME, the aerospace mechanical engineers, these trades are in high demand. So if there's kids that are looking for opportunities in the aerospace industry, if you want to go into the trades, the AME trade in specific, there's businesses across, especially Winnipeg and Portage are aerospace. I wouldn't say a hub, but I mean there's a very large industry in Winnipeg in particular, aerospace industry. So in terms of the trades, have a look. There's stuff out there. So yeah,
It's really interesting.
it takes about 2 years, maybe 3 years to. Aaron, how long would it take to get a SEAL to become an AME? Sealed AME.
2 years of college and then 2.5 years of apprenticeship.
Yeah. So, but just a great career to get into, and there'll be the world's your oyster. I think at that point, in terms of work out there, tons of opportunities.
Pretty big shortage of engineers out there.
Yeah.
For the AME side.
So,
Pretty desperate out there for getting more guys.
and this is some of the work that they would be doing.
Yeah.
That and all this stuff over here, like I'll show you the engines. So the Aaron's with Canadian Helicopters and the CHL folks that take care of the helicopters, it's front to back, right? Everything that you see here, these guys are qualified to work on, whether it's the avionics, like they mentioned over there, or getting in here and just stripping her right down. So this happens, like right here in this hangar in Portage. They'll take this helicopter right down, they remove the engine here. There may be an engine on the other side we can have a look at, but just right down to its bones. I love coming to the hangar. I usually I'm at my desk for the majority of the day, so to come back here kind of brings you back a little bit. Yeah, there's a engine up in there. Just gives you a real appreciation for how many moving parts.
Yes.
And how just how complex these machines are. You see them up there flying, but to see them all stripped down like this is gives you a real appreciation. Yeah, I'll just take you through to dispatch, and we'll go out to the flight line. Get some good shots out there. So, we're working with Portage Collegiate to, if we have the right candidates and the kids are interested in stuff, to have them out here. We can't. It's a big training bill for us, and we're not a training facility. But if we can take one a year and expose it to it, if it's something that they want to do, and stay local and have an amazing career, I think the opportunity out here is phenomenal. That's one of the reasons I think it's interesting, or it's important to show people what we do out here at Southport, and particularly at 3 Canadian Forces Flying Training School, and the support that Allied Wings gives to this program. There's a lot of opportunity and a lot of work out here. We have over 200 employees as Allied Wings. That's between Kelowna Flightcraft, Canadian Base Operators, and Canadian Helicopters. Those 3 companies under the umbrella of what's called Allied Wings support the flight training for the Canadian Armed Forces. They put through about 150 students a year, graduate over 60 with Air Force Wings. There's about, I think right now, about 70, 75 full-time military here. So on top of the students, so if you look at the entire package, you're looking at 450 to 500 people out here at Southport that are conducting flying training for the military. So it's a big operation, and a relatively small team in the grand scheme of things. For Allied Wings to be only 200 people to support the flying training, primary flying training for the Canadian Armed Forces. Literally every pilot that begins their training in the Canadian Armed Forces starts here in Portage, every single pilot.
So is there another facility like this in Canada?
So Moose Jaw, you'll have, so everybody starts here, and then a portion of those students will go off to Moose Jaw and will continue their training in Moose Jaw. Those students, if they do stay there and graduate out of there, will go on to jet aircraft, either staying as instructors in Moose Jaw or going on to F-18s. A portion of those that are trained in Moose Jaw after what's called Phase 2 will come back here for Phase 3, and that's where they'll do either the fixed wing, the King Air that you saw previously, the 2-engine aircraft, or they'll transition to helicopters and then go through extensive training on the helicopters. So, but a lot of movements every day. I mean, there's when you get the full flying schedule going, you know, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of takeoff and landings every day. These aircraft flying, you know, from the beginning of the day, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, till late afternoon, and sometimes we'll go into the evening. You know, in the summer months, we'll be flying sometimes, you know, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, coming and going. So it's busy. The future is bright, put it that way. The people may have heard of the Future Aircrew Training Initiative been going on between a company called Leonardo Babcock and Skyline, are the two companies that are bidding for that, and the announcement should be made. I think it's about April of next year, but after you. But regardless of who wins it, those are the two main competitors that have put in bids. So these are surplus aircraft. They haven't been upgraded, haven't received a new paint job or anything, but this goes back to the flying training that was done here when it was still military, and back, you know, over 2 decades ago. So they've been basically mothballed for this period of time. So you can see the difference in cockpit. So you saw the last one that was all glass, and here on the right-hand side you don't have the cutout of the glass screen. So this cockpit configuration goes back over 2 decades. And then so here you've got, you know, just the storage. These aircraft aren't flying today. We've got a couple of those two out there, the propeller aircraft. We've got cadet flying going on this summer. So we've got 6 cadets from across Canada that are out here as part of the Air Cadet program that are going to get their pilot's licenses.
Cadets, students from high school, people making careers.
Absolutely. Right here. A small prairie town.
You say people have even asked you what all is happening to this day. They're not totally aware.
Well, it's interesting. You know, I'm going to go back to talk. I'll answer that one there in a little bit. But you know, going back to what the future holds here. So we've got this bidding process in with the Government of Canada, and regardless of which company wins, the FACT bid involves the existing bases of here in Portage, Moose Jaw, and Winnipeg. So it's going to be I don't know the exact dollar number, but you're talking $7-8 billion over 25 years. So it's a massive procurement. We'll keep walking here. Procurement for the Government of Canada, the people of Canada, and it's centered around aircrew training. So not just pilot training, but it'll include navigator training, sensor operator training. Actually, they're not navigators; they're air combat system operators now. But but a portion of that's going to remain here in Portage. So it'll involve, may or may not involve the Grobe aircraft, but certainly the helicopters and the multi-engine are going to be remaining here. So in terms of jobs and opportunities, that's going to remain upwards of 25 years or longer.
And that's coming in.
That's coming here to, it's in the works. It's well down the path of development. And that'll be based out of here at Southport. So, you know, no concerns, at least in its current configuration, if you will, or under the current guidelines of the contract. It's going to remain here. A portion of that will remain here in Portage. So, you know, the future looks exceedingly bright for aviation here in Portage la Prairie. So if people are interested in getting involved, it's not, I'll get involved and in 3 years I got to move to Moose Jaw or something. We're staying right here. I'll take you in here and show you a couple of simulators. You may not have seen these before. So it gets dark on the right. During their training, all students will go through periods of simulator training. Not just early on, but all throughout the syllabus. So this is the Grobe trainer. This is the helicopter. So the little one, the 206 that you saw, so we can go on up the stairs here as well. So this is another type of simulator, level 7 sim. So when they do these, the instructor will sit here and can basically control the entire flight from here. So you'll have 1 or 2 students. The instructor can either sit up there with the student and do instruction there, or they can sit back here and have 2 students in the front. And from here they can give them different scenarios. They can throw different emergencies at them. They can move them around in the sky, get them to practice different evolutions, and then use this to help debrief the mission as well. So the clarity is quite good. You know, I remember when I first started pilot training, there was none of this whatsoever. And then even later on with advanced training I did with Sea Kings and then Seahawks with the U.S. Navy, we had games that weren't, you know, too much more evolved from basic Atari and Pong, if you remember that.
Yes.
You know, so it's come a long ways. So this is a Hilly Brown building. So we came into the entrance on the far side. So here's the standard briefing room in here. So prior to missions, students will come in here, sit down with their instructor, usually one-on-one. Might be 2 students with 1 instructor, depending on what they're going to be doing. And basically your entire mission can be brought up on the smart boards, on the computers. And they'll spend an hour prior to the mission talking about what it is they're going to be doing, going through aircraft systems, basic knowledge tests, and then talking through the evolutions and basically pre-flying the mission before they get out there. Then they'll go out and they'll conduct the mission. That'll be upwards of an hour and 15 minutes. Then they'll come back in here and spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour deconstructing the mission and talking about good points, bad points, ways to improve. So it's an entire mission done properly is about 4 hours front to back.
And they track all the details.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then performance for the students is tracked. You know, flight after flight after flight. You keep a rolling tally of their progression. You know, really to provide them the best possible training that we can provide. I'm going to grab this guy out here. Hey Dave, do you have 20 minutes? No? Okay. You have 5? Yeah? Okay, how about a quick 5 minutes? Just might not be enough, but we can at least turn on the video. So we'll go on up. Dave is our, he's the head of the all the training devices in here, the simulator, lead sim tech, simulation technician. So this is the 412 simulator, full motion simulator. About what, Dave, 30 million?
This one here, she's 22 at the time of purchase back in 05. Insurance replacement cost on it today is 42 million.
Well, how many?
42.
42 million.
Yeah.
So if you want to go around here, Mike, you can see the visuals and the comparison to the other ones.
See the blades spin on top. You've got 2 simulators here. What's the difference?
So this is a 412. The one across is the C90, so it's the King Air simulator. And then we have another one identical to this, but it's a non-motion simulator, and it's down the hall. So we have 3 large simulators in this building. The other ones you saw in the other building, that was the G5, which is the Grove simulator. And then the level 7 is the 206 simulator.
Okay, if she makes it queasy, just close your eyes. It's just an illusion.
No problem.
So you can see the simulation of flight. It's pretty much identical. So if you're out in an aircraft right now, you'd have pretty much the same sensation. You know, you get good three-dimensional referencing on this, and
It's totally convincing that you're in the air.
yeah.
So in reality, we're tilted a little bit.
We're not moving at all.
We're not even tilted.
We're not even tilted. So it's just your mind, vestibular, but it does feel like you're moving, doesn't it?
Does it ever?
But no, right now, if you were to go outside and look, the platforms are completely steady. So this is a motion simulator, so when it's fully turned on, you'd have to strap in and everything, and we generally won't turn on the motion for demos, but the it will tilt on the legs.
So your mind does it to an extent, but then you get the actual tilting that's added to it.
Yeah. So here you got the Assiniboine underneath here.
This is say you're done with Google Earth? Like this
Yeah,
all
that's
of
how
this?
that's how they've populated the database. So if you look at the city of Portage up there, you got the Island Park.
So what are we looking at right here?
So that's the base.
Right back to the base.
Yeah. So you got your PMQs up here to the right. Right of the road. Completely illegal what Dave's doing right now. So there's Sakai's building right here. Here's the old headquarters for the teachers, and off to the left is where we're at right now. So that building to the left, that checkered one,
Okay.
we're sitting in there right now in this simulator. So you just flew through, and right in the center of that building is where we are right now.
Sort of like a technological out-of-the-body experience. We're actually over there. Now, does this have to be upgraded with software every now and then, or? Yeah.
So Dave's the best one to answer all this stuff. So
Because very often.
No, since every few years.
as technology advances and different pieces of kit are brought online,
Yeah.
it'll force us to to maintain a level of relevance and realism. Really appreciate this, Dave. Thanks.
Yeah, this is gold. That's something else.
And that's it.
My.
Around the block. There it is.
Thanks so
Thanks, Dave. Here's something that we started about a year ago now. This is bleeding edge technology, and if we get this correct, this is where about $50,000 or $70,000 worth of technology can replace the 40 million in simulators. And it's virtual reality. So we've been working with a virtual reality system. It doesn't look like much. You throw on these goggles, which are over $20,000 a pair, and it looks identical to what you're looking at in there. So the dials are all there, everything's there, except it's just, I wish there was a way that we could show it on the camera, but there really isn't. We put these on, and this is bleeding edge virtual reality technology that we're working with here. So I'd love to develop that capability in some way. And this is where the young students, you got 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds that know way more than we do in this environment. So this would be the 206 helicopter. And then we've got the Grobe. So we have all three of or 3 out of the 4 aircraft. And you see there's nothing here except the seat, and everything is in this. And that's linked up through the computer into the controls, and you feel like you did in there.
Yeah.
Same sort of visuals.
And you could have a lot more training, because each piece is a lot less expensive.
Well, that's it. So, the seat that you were just in, the simulator, Dave was saying the replacement cost is north of $40 million. This thing here, and those goggles are a couple of steps down from the ones we have with the King Air. But here with the controls and the seat, computer and goggles, you're under $10,000 for that. So, it's just the math alone. And if you get this developed enough, you could have 4 of these set up together. You could link them together and have 4 aircraft flying in formation or doing a mission together. Take it even a step further, and you start using this stuff with naval simulators or Army simulators, and you can do an entire, battlefield scenario, if you will, using that. And we've done that when I was flying Sea Kings in Halifax. We were working in that direction with the Canadian Navy, where they have their naval simulators and we have our Sea King simulators, and getting them to talk together so you can go through entire missions and scenarios, basically just over, not the internet, but like electronically, gaming it, if you will. I'm looking for the word here, but I'm not. So this one here is the King Air. So it's in use right now. But basically it's the same thing as what you saw in the helicopter, except the cockpit's completely different. The cockpit is all set out for the multi-engine aircraft.
Is this going to have the movement?
So that has the full motion on the bottom with those cylinders, but right now they may not have it turned on, depending on what type of a training trip they're doing. If they're just doing starts and shutdowns, then they won't need it. Once they do get airborne, they'll turn it on, or prior to getting airborne, and then they'll get the full motion out of it. But as you saw in there, you don't need to have that on to get that sensation.
I felt like I was sideways.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago we saw these.
Okay. You were brought in and showing the cockpit and the outside and stuff, yeah. A lot of opportunity out here, with the IT skills, and I'm serious. Like if you lose your IT, these are the partners in here. So Blue Drop is the 4th partner in Allied Wings, and they're based out of Halifax, and they do all of our training software. So the courses that the students will do on the computer, they'll do all the modules and the training, courseware training. So this is exactly what you saw or were in for the 412. The difference is you'll see it's not on a tripod. It's hard fixed. And the only reason we do that is this knocks a couple of million off the price. So you need one per the contract. You need one that's full motion. The other one is not required. Other than that, it's identical. Does the same thing. So we've kind of gone full circle from where we went in and we walked out here.